Welcome to Living a Triggered Life podcast with Keith
and Roxann, presented by The Triggered Project.
To find out more information about The Triggered Project, go to www.triggered1.com. Welcome to Living a Triggered Life podcast with Keith Mascoll.
Roxann Mascoll.
Man, we are so happy to be back here live at the Museum of Science. Big shout out to our tech family that's here. Even though my mic just fell, I'm going to make it happen. And also shout out to our brother James Monroe as well for having us back here. And thank you to the Museum of Science for bringing us back. But wow, Rox, can you believe it? Yo, we're kicking off season 2.
I know.
Season 2, can you believe that?
No.
Oh my God.
No.
Like, this is incredibly exciting for a number of reasons, but you know, we're going to take things to the next level in season 2. I'm just going to say it right now. We're going to take it to the next level.
We didn't do that season 1.
We did okay in season 1. We did cool, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, but season 2.
All right.
Season 2. You don't know what's going to happen yet. But
I never know.
Well, that's true. But we're going to make sure that it's going to be popping.
All right now.
You know what I'm saying?
They're going to let us know.
No question. They always do. But, you know, we're going to start out as we always do. So with a check-in. So, Rox, what's up, Rox? How you doing?
I'm good. It's birthday weekend.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yes, it is. 3 days apart.
Yes. I'm tomorrow and you're Sunday.
That's right.
Monday. Oh, I got to get that right because I'm always forgetting.
That's true.
I've been working on it.
Right. So does that mean that we refer to you as BG?
Yes, I'm always BG first and then, wait, and you're BB? Yeah.
Something like that, right? So birthday girl, right?
Yes.
So does that mean that it starts now?
Usually for you it does.
Okay.
Why? You got a gift? You brought it?
Yeah, I did actually.
Never fails.
No question. I always got you. You know that.
I know.
Does that mean that you have your birthday suit on?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And I have to say,
I almost said no, but we're in public. I forgot.
Yeah, no question. But no one can see what you're wearing right now, but you look very beautiful as always. So, but let's jump in. You know what I'm saying?
Let's.
So, speaking of our birthdays, so what are we talking about today, Rox?
I think we're talking about, well, I know I want to talk about what happens around our birthdays.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's important. A lot of my trauma comes up around my birthday.
Right.
And it impacts you. So I think we should talk about that.
Yeah.
And talk about how we work through it, which is not always successful, but sometimes it is. And we said we were gonna do a little. We're gonna talk a little about not so current, but we want to be able to say something about some current affairs and other couple.
Right.
And
right. A lot of stuff's been coming out about like how you show up. Right, how we show up for our partners and where we learn it from and stuff like that. So we'll probably in the flow get into that as well. So, so do you want to start out talking about what goes on for your birthday? Yeah,
I will. So my birthday is usually a dark moment for me. It's the darkest moment of the year for me. I usually get very dark because that's when the first time that I was violated. So I've always have a hard time. So I don't actually let people know. I don't celebrate. I don't do anything.
Right.
And it's really a hard time. It's gotten better over time, though. I think you have really helped me figure out how to allow myself to be celebrated.
Yeah.
Because I don't have memories about birthday parties or gifts. I don't have any memories like that.
Right.
So that took me a long time to realize that that's what was going on with me, why I get so dark around that time. But when you told me we were doing this, I was like, ooh, I was wondering, am I going to be able to really be here and be present?
Right.
But I think we've worked really hard over time where I can be here and feel okay and sort of appreciate people celebrating me, or, have the expectation of people to send me love on my
Right.
birthday.
Right.
I just still don't tell anybody. You're always telling people.
That's my job.
If
My
you
job is
say-
to make
if you say so, I don't really like it, but
No, my job is to make sure that people appreciate you and give you love, right? To try to create new memories. You know what I mean? I think it wasn't something that you talked about that much about why the birthdays were so difficult for you. You know what I'm saying? You only just said that you didn't like to celebrate it. But here's the
Yeah.
thing: your mom doesn't like to celebrate it either, which I noticed. Your mom doesn't like to celebrate
those are
it,
facts.
and you don't like to celebrate it.
No, I don't like the attention.
Yeah. No, that definitely makes sense. And I think for me around that piece, we've been able to kind of have some conversations about it, but for a while I didn't know what it was. But I definitely
I'm not sure that I knew.
Mm,
If I'm being honest, I just
Yeah.
know that I didn't like to celebrate it. I'm not sure if I knew.
yeah. Yeah, I think, but what would happen is that, like, at certain points, when we get activated, to reminded of what the injury is in some ways, whether or not we've dealt with it or not, our body remembers. And I think that, I would notice that you would go through, something during this time, and it was a hard transition from your birthday to my birthday.
Well, they're so close.
Right.
I didn't have enough time to really recover,
Right.
to be there for you and
Yeah.
celebrate you. And
Mhm.
you have a really different experience. Like, you're used to being celebrated
Yeah.
for your birthday.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I do remember, my parents most definitely making sure that I was celebrated for my birthday and stuff like that. But then it got difficult as I got older. You know what I'm saying? Because my father would, this fool, he would give me vitamins for my birthday and wrap them in tinfoil. And I'd be like, really, dude, that's it? Like, you're giving me vitamins? And
I
that's supposed to
remember
be,
that.
and that's supposed to be, I'd be like, wow, really, Dad? Like, I'd get all hyped up a little bit, even though I was like 18 or whatever. I was still like, Dad's gonna give me a present. Like, okay, cool. And this dude's giving me vitamins. Like, that was the best thing to give me. And you know why he was giving me the vitamins. He was like, well, well, Keith, I'm giving you the vitamins because it's going to keep it hard. And that was important to him.
He said that to you?
That's what he said to me.
Oh, I didn't know that's what he said. I didn't know that's why.
That's why. That's why he gave me vitamins.
Wow.
And felt like it was the best president in the whole world.
And proud of himself.
And proud of himself. In tinfoil. Not the fact that I was in school or whatever and I needed probably an extra $5 so I could buy some pizza at UMass Amherst. But dude dropped off the vitamins. You know what I'm saying? But the other thing about it too is that there was a certain style of cake that we used to get, right? And it always
You
the
and your
frosting.
cake.
Yo, I'm sorry. I'm wearing my Bayesian colors. You know I'm Bayesian. You know I love cake, like no question about it. And so like we always had this special cake that we used to get, and I loved it. But my father would get the cake that he liked for my birthday. I was always so heated. Look at him like, it's not your birthday, it's my birthday. Why are you getting your cake for it? But that was just how he was. You know what I'm saying? At a certain point, it was the strawberry shortcake cake, which actually are really good. But I was like, I couldn't eat it.
Because you were mad?
Because I
you
was
didn't
so
like it?
mad. Because I was so mad. Because I was like, what's wrong with you, dude? Like, this is supposed to be my day. Aren't you supposed to be happy for me? You know what I'm saying? And for some reason, I guess he couldn't resist to not buy the cake for himself.
He's so self-centered.
Like, I can laugh about it now, but I was spitting bullets at this dude, looking at him like, really? Really, dude? But I was worried, though. Here's what I was worried about. I was worried about whether or not that I was going to start doing that type of stuff or
What
be
do you-
that self-centered.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Because
being in a
that's what you were-
relationship with
that's
you
what you were taught.
because that's what I was taught in some ways is to, to kind of be self-centered, at least by him in some ways. There was some balance, in terms of mom, you know what I mean?
I
But
think though that's one of the things that is so endearing about you, and I think one of the reasons why we've lasted as long as we have, because you're actually not self-centered. Like you're very giving to a point that sometimes I think is too much, but you're very giving. It's very endearing about your personality. Is it because you had that experience with your dad, so you decided you wanted to do something different? Because that's what happens to us sometimes. We decide, oh, I'm not going to be like that. I'm going to make sure that I don't behave that way.
you know what? I think as survivors, sometimes we're givers.
Or
Sometimes.
well, there's a fine line between giving and self-sacrificing.
Exactly. Right. And I can
So-
do both. Right? I can give to a point of worrying about other people, or sometimes I don't think wanting to please other people, but I definitely, I think at one point I've felt like I wasn't taken care of in some ways in terms of my needs, in terms of the abuse and things like that, and I never want anybody else to feel like that. So I always want to make sure that whoever I'm dealing with, that I'm taking care of them in some ways. Maybe in the way that I wish that I was taken care of, I guess, in some ways. And I think that was, that's something that we've figured out as well, in terms of how much I do, right? And for you as well. Because I most definitely, when it comes to you, I told you first and foremost that I would never be a man that would get in the way of anything that you ever wanted to do in your life. I promised you that. You know what I'm saying? When we
Yeah,
first
you
met,
made good on that too.
no question. You know what I mean? I will always make space and uplift you in any way that I can, because I know, with the abuse and stuff like that, men's actions try to get in the way of you being great. You know what I'm saying? So, any way that I can do something to aid that, I am. I mean, that's, people don't know this, but like, that's why when I thought about doing this podcast and whatever, like, people missed Roxann's brilliance. They missed your brilliance in your job, working for child protection or wherever you are. People never really got to understand, one, who you are as a person. Two, just like, you're a savant in this therapy and social work game. Like,
Oh, I love it.
you know what I'm saying? Like
I love
yeah,
that work.
like you're a savant. You're a savant in this, and a lot of times, people have dismissed you in a lot of ways and not realized, like, well, how you know that? You know what I'm saying? Or sometimes it's ageism and whatever else. So, like, one reason why that I wanted to do this and whatever, to share our story, but I wanted people to hear how brilliant you are, right? That we could
That's
be.
what I mean. You see, this is an example of that, how endearing you can be. It's like, oh, I want to do this whole podcast, and I'm not going to tell you to the day of that we're going to go tape the first episode, because I want you to be sort of like, not tell me no, this is about you, and I want to do this for you. And that's what I mean. It's that kind of shit that you do that I'm always like taken aback by it.
Yeah.
Because I never really experienced that, someone actually seeing me and thinking that I was worthy.
Yeah.
And like being consistent about that.
Right.
Consistency.
Yeah. I mean, I love you that much. I've seen how great you've been since I first met you. You know what I'm saying? When you were a Puerto Rican firecracker, when I first met you. You know what I'm saying?
We're not going there.
We're not going there?
No, we're not
Okay, we
telling
won't
them
talk
about
about
that. No, no.
Some of the listeners have heard a little bit about that before, but no, like, definitely, wanting to put you on that stage, but also for us, but also to share, because nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about real relationships. No one talks about trauma and how it shows up. You know what I'm saying? And thank you so much for, just starting to share that truth about, having birthday be tough and why.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think
'Cause
one of
that's
the
tough.
things that occurs to me about it when you were talking about like what happens to me at work and all of that, one of the things that happens with this abuse that I've experienced is that I want people to see me. I like feeling connected to people.
Right.
I enjoy people and relationships with other people.
Right.
But I also always want to be in the dark, in the background. I don't like to be up front.
Right.
And it's like this, it's like trying to do two different things, right? So I have big personality, and then when I'm quiet, people are like, "Are you all right? Everything okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, everything's fine." And it's because I can sort of really retreat in such a way that is so noticeable for people.
Mm.
And then I never really realize what people think of me or how they feel about me. And, over time, that's really something that's, it's because I'm not paying attention to it or I'm
Right.
not sort of talking to people about it. And you're always reflecting that for me. And I'm like, nobody's worrying about me. And you're like, no, they are. I'm like, nobody's worrying about me.
Yeah.
But I think that one of the things that has happened with us is that you pay so much attention to push me out into the light. And in the background, I don't know how to deal with that. So I get like mad aggy about it. I'm like, stop pushing me in the light. I feel uncomfortable. And sometimes I don't show up for you the way I need to.
Mm.
And that's part of, what we were talking about with the birthdays. There's a lot of years that I just didn't show up.
Right.
And I feel bad about that because that's not how I feel about you.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm like, man, I wish his birthday was like 15 days later so I could catch up.
Right. No, I think, you know what though? But I think, how we talk about stuff is important. I don't think you could show up. And that's okay. Because you were dealing with the heaviness of, having that memory or whatever come back slowly. Right? It's kind of like when I talk about, some people, who are survivors who can't speak or haven't spoken, right? If you couldn't tell yourself the truth, how could you tell me about it? You understand what I mean? And so I think it was kind of slow how it happened. So, and it was difficult, of course, for me, to be like, hey, well, it's my birthday now. You know what I mean? It was like 26, like, guess not happening this year. You know what I'm saying? So it was definitely difficult for me. Like there's no question about it that I was like, what's going on? Right? Something is not right. And it was incredibly frustrating. And it was, I didn't feel validated, and stuff like that. Just I think also for me, both my parents are gone. You know what I'm saying? Grandparents are gone, everybody's gone and stuff like that. So, you're a special part of my family. And so that was difficult, but, finding out, the truth, only a couple of years ago really just put things in perspective for me. And, I had to move forward and try to communicate with you and talk to you about it. And, we seem to be in a better place, around it. But
I'm in a much better place. I actually can plan now for you, which I couldn't do before.
Yeah, no, let me tell you, last year you did a heck of a job because you took me to Paisley Park in Minnesota and had the Prince experience. And I was like, are you serious? Like,
that was a good trip.
That was a good trip. It was a couple of days. It was windy as hell. But like so special and just making new memories. And so I so appreciate that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need much at all because I have a lot of sneakers. So why are you shaking your head?
You are very hard to shop for.
What?
There are years where I have a whole plan of what I'm going to get you. And this fool will go out and buy it for himself before I could give it to him and mess up my whole plan. That's legit how it goes down. And then I have to start all over again.
But you're going to blame me because we're connected in that way and somehow you sent over what you were going to get me and I thought about it and then I just went and got it? Like, how are you going to blame me for that?
Because then I get in trouble for not having my shit together
Well, I mean,
for you. That's why.
Well, it's not, I wouldn't say you get in trouble. It just becomes a difficult situation. That's all. When you have like 40 packages and I have 2. Wow, silence?
Well, no.
Silence?
Well, a little bit. I was just going to say some smart ass remark, but I'm going to leave it alone.
All right, that's fine. That's fine.
Those are facts, though.
Yeah, but it's all good though. You know why? Because we can talk about it. We can laugh about it, right? This is why we do the podcast. This is what we talk about. This is what happens.
Truth.
Do you feel like you learned? How did you learn how to show up in relationships? Right, like how to, like even though your birthday is difficult and whatever, but how did you learn to kind of show up for me? Or to think about that?
Well, I think that from right the beginning, you always talk about the breakfast the day after that, the first time we had sex.
Oh, let's go back to that really quickly because, I woke up and I smelled bacon, eggs, pancakes, fresh orange juice, right? And I was like, yo, what is going on? I was like, what is going on? I was like, this is crazy. And then here she come up, hey, babe. And gives me this big, beautiful plate of food.
It was like an Antoine Fisher moment.
Correct.
Everything in the cabinets was
correct. I was like, this is unbelievable. I was calling my boys like, yo, I really like her and whatever, and like, yo, you ever have a chick like make you breakfast? Not like just like scrambled eggs, like make you a full spread of food? Dudes are like, nah.
Buffet.
Right.
Well, what I was going to say about that is that it's culturally based for me. Right? So culturally, right, women are socialized to take care of men, to cook, to always be prepared in that way. Right. So there's a cultural piece of it for me in taking care of you. Right? That's what I was taught.
Right.
And then I think just some of the pieces of my own story, my own life and experience got in the way of me really showing up for you. Right. But I think over time, I had such disappointment in myself for not showing up sometimes that I started to make promises to myself that I was going to do better and that and again, like, you wouldn't hold it against me. You would tell me how you feel, like we'd have the conversation, but you never held it against me. And so that made me feel empowered that I could change, or I could fix it, or I can do better. Right. And when someone else shows up and says you can, or validates that, or gives you permission to do that, then you feel more motivated to do that each time. Right. And so I think that's how I learned to show up, because my experience with my parents was my mother was the breadwinner and my father just wasn't. Right. He was just like a lump on the log, causing damage and trouble and all kinds of things. So that was the example I got. I knew about the cultural pieces, but you gave me space to learn how to show up. And deep down, because of how I felt about you, I wanted to do that. Right.
Because I think I love what you said, but I think that's always what the people talk about in relationships is like how you learn to show up, right? And I feel like it's something that is, has been talked about, with the Will and Jada thing and, slapping Chris and and stuff. And there was a big debate about how people show up, or how we learn about that, right? Is that attached to roles, right? With male and a female in the family and stuff like that. And then some stuff is dictated by trauma, right? Because that was a big thing. That was like, oh, Will was coming in defense of Jada, right? But I don't know about that, to be honest, right? Because there's situations where, I can come into defense of you, but you're involved in the process.
As I should be.
Right.
Like I should be part of the decision making as to what it is that happens next. Not
Right.
like I wouldn't expect you to take on the decision of how it's going to be resolved, or
Right.
even to use that toxic masculinity
Yeah.
to resolve it. Like
Right.
that would make me feel uncomfortable.
Right. But I feel like that check-in is important, right? Like,
Well, that's
I'm
real
mad, right?
partnership,
Because
right?
I'm mad, right? It even happened today. It was a worker that we were, doing some work on the house and whatever, and Roxann was dealing with it, and the person wasn't doing what they needed to do. So, I felt like I
No,
needed
they
to.
weren't being respectful.
Correct.
To me.
Right. And so I was quick, but my first thing was like, I did the check-in. I said, hey, you know what? I'm feeling like I wanna jump in here and whatever. Like, tag me in. You know what I'm saying? But I won't move until I get you to tag me in, and then you understand what I'm gonna say, because I always do that. Even if it was in the moment of somebody on the street and whatever else, we still have an eye contact about what is gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't ever feel like that I don't want to involve you in that, because I think that's just toxic masculinity. I just do, right?
Yeah.
We talk about how I show up for you and how I defend you, right? That's an important conversation that doesn't necessarily happen, right? Because what's best for us in that situation too. It's not just about me and how I feel about it. It's about how you feel about it and how we feel about it. And I feel like that sometimes couples don't have that conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're in a club and some dude steps on my shoe and tries to get volatile or whatever, and you're the first person that's taking off your earrings.
You'd love that example. That
I
really
do.
happened.
I do, because you were like, you were like this. You were
Yeah.
like, you were like
I
this
was ready
nickel.
to fight him.
That's what you were like.
It's
You were like
true.
this nickel. Look, what you do? The Bronx came out, and I was like, oh, babe, I got it. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I think, but those are good discussions. But that also comes down to roles as well, right? It comes down to roles and having that discussion about that, right? And defining what the roles are for your own relationship.
Well, I wish we really knew the truth about if they actually talked about what was going on there. I don't think we'll ever know the truth
No.
about what happened there, but there's a lot of ideas about what it looked like.
Right. Most definitely. There was a lot that was going on there. And I don't think it was just even that moment. I think that, I saw the hurt little boy in Will. There was definitely like, I felt like, he looked like he was back on the playground. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what sometimes you do.
Yeah, he looked lost.
He looked lost. And it was really sad also, too, because, I always think about, well, who's handling that situation? Who's helping in that situation? Was there help to be able to get him at that time, and that came down to the producers and everyone else because you kept putting them on camera. That was a choice to do that. And
Wow.
you could have made a different choice in
They
terms
just
of that as well.
exploited that for ratings, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but still, it was that was a tough situation to watch. And then of course everybody's looking at the role, and then they're saying, well, what should have Jada done in that moment, and everything else, when we don't really know what that dynamic truly is with what they decide on how they're going to show up or not show up.
But it was really sad.
No, it definitely was
It
sad.
was really sad.
It's a sad, it's a sad situation, and it's hard to you know, to as we are being being in the limelight in some ways and talking about our story and stuff like that. There's going to be judgment and stuff like that. But I think, you know, what was difficult for me is the first thing I thought about it went back to the entanglement and a lot of that stuff, because it didn't seem like there was some, you know, some boundaries in whatever that situation was, right? Or they can only talk about it to a, you know, to a certain extent. And you know, people do whatever they do, and whatever people decide for their relationship is for them. You know, it's not necessarily our business in some ways.
No, but on some level, they're putting it out there.
Right.
And that's like once you start doing that, you
Yeah.
can't control
No.
what happens.
No, it's like us with, you know, with showing, you know, or the listeners hearing, you know, the thing about the video about the big dick, right? Like we put that out there, and like there's nothing we can do about that. You know what I'm saying? Like it is what it is.
You know, you get me feeling so comfortable, and I start talking about stuff like that, and then I look at it, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. But it's all true. Everything was true. But you know what I was thinking about?
What?
That the person that we were actually talking about, if they actually are listening to the podcast and heard that.
Oh, for sure. Most definitely. Because, I mean, as we know, there's a lot of people that are listening to the podcast that don't tell us, and we have no idea.
We do know that.
We have no idea. And most definitely because here's what it is, too. That person has the opportunity to learn more about you and understand what you were going through as a survivor at that time, and to understand how they didn't show up for you. Right? And hopefully with learning that can show up different in whatever relationship they're in. Right? But it was there was as if, you know, and a lot of people say this, you know, with me and stuff too, is like I didn't know any of this about you, right? Or you don't look like you could be depressed, or you don't look like you got sexually abused. Like I don't know what that's supposed to look like. Like, yeah, I never really noticed you being sad. You know what I'm saying? And that is, sometimes that's difficult because sometimes you feel like you're screaming out loud and nobody
hears you.
Nobody hears you.
Yeah.
Right? But so it's, you know, so it's hard sometimes. You know, and that, you know, it goes back to, you know, birthdays and things like that. I think what's difficult for me now is missing my mom more. You know what I mean? Miss my dad too, you know what I mean, and whatever, but really missing my mom. My mom's a Scorpio like me. You know what I mean? It's one thing that we really shared that way. And so sometimes I just wish I could just tell her I love her.
But you can.
I mean, I do. I talk to her, and you know what I'm saying? She don't let me. She'd be mad at me with the way my hair is right now because she was a hairdresser, and I walk past her picture all the time, and she's like, really? You ain't going to comb that head? And stuff like that. But just to, you know, just to be able to tell her that that I'm speaking for her through this work. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm breaking that intergenerational trauma, Mom. You know what I'm saying? And like.
But you know, I mean, you can't do the stuff that you're doing and sharing your story. You cannot do that without parts of her helping you do that.
Yeah, no question.
I know. I mean, that doesn't resolve the fact that, you know, we both wish that she was here and still with us.
Right.
But sometimes we have to really. I was just reading. I was up at like 3:30 in the morning again, but I was reading Bell Hooks, All About Love, and this particular chapter was talking about end of life issues and love.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really moving to really think about this concept of how these folks are in us and their love is inside of us, and how we can utilize that and put that out forward in order to really. And she was talking about that we don't talk about death, and we don't focus on love enough. And I was just really, it was such a beautiful idea of how to experience or to think about death. And as I think about my grandmother, who was like my first caretaker in my life, and I'm very attached to her, who's 100 years old, and only God knows if she's going to make it to 101, but sort of anticipating her death.
Yeah.
And really taking the moments that I have with her to experience that love that I felt when I was a baby.
Right.
And still have that. And I just think that there's a way that you can do that too. And I told you this, was it this? I can't remember what day it is. Last week.
Yeah.
I said something to you about Connie.
Yeah.
You remember what I said to you? Good. What did I say? Because I don't remember.
I don't know. I'm lying.
Oh. Damn. It was something like, it was something like, when you do that particular thing, you are the Connie magic, right?
Yeah, no,
so in the
right,
film,
right.
you talk about my mother was magic. And I said to you, right now, Keith, you are that Connie magic. And everything that you put your time and your effort into is Connie coming out of you, out of that love that the two of you shared.
Yeah.
And you said to me, okay, don't say anything else. I can't deal with that right now. But I'm saying it to you again because I feel like that's what I was reminiscing about when I was reading Bell Hooks and this concept that she has about love.
Yeah.
And if you haven't read that book, read it, but read it slowly. Don't read it fast. Just sit with a chapter. It has helped me think about the world in a really different way.
Right.
And also think about you in a different way and your love, the love between you and your mom.
Yeah. No, thank you for that. And, learning to show up, right? And that's what I think about my mom, that I try to take the best from my parents. You know what I'm saying? Like how I dress is my mother. Like this is how my mother was. There's no question. I was in the shopping cart as she was going through thrift stores and buying clothes. You know what I'm saying? And colors and everything. So like I definitely she walks with me. The same thing with my father, walks with me, with his engineer mind, no question. Not his dance moves, but and I think that's one of the lessons I think that in the last couple of years of really thinking about taking the best of them and the best of them in their relationship and trying to bring it here, right? And the only way that I could even think about that is with doing the work, right? Doing the work with EW, in terms of that therapy, but also figuring out the wellness package for me and making sure that I'm balanced and resting and all that stuff. Because one thing that I learned from my mom in terms of showing up was listening. Just listening. I'm okay with silence sometimes because I need to listen, right? And you always say to me, like, how do you know all these things about me? How do you know what to get me and whatever? It's because I listen. And that's the one thing that my mom did. And that's the one thing that she did for me when she could, because her own abuse was in the way. Was that she would listen, and at some point, when she was going through a tough time, that sometimes I had to listen to her, and that taught me to try to listen to you a lot more. You know what I mean? which is always a work in progress. Because I can also talk
Not
like
listen.
I can also talk like her too.
And not listen.
Right. Right. Shopping, talking, hair, doing stuff with hair, and
You definitely bring a lot of Connie into our relationship.
yeah,
Like even today, you were like, "Are you gonna fix your hair?"
I did.
Yeah,
That was totally my mother.
I know.
That was totally.
I know. I don't
like-
I don't like when she shows up like that.
Well, because I was like, I mean, because I know my mother would be like, "Girl, you sharp." That was her word, sharp. And she'd be like, "I know you're gonna do something else with that head, right?"
You told me I looked like I was going to the gym,
I did.
but
And I
I
stand behind that.
I don't know why. I thought my hair was cute.
I
I
mean,
went to work like that.
yeah, but that's not. I mean, not like people can see you. I mean, the people that are sitting here can see you. But, you know, the Princess Leia thing, I kind of like better. It kind of goes with It kind of goes with your kicks. To be honest. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
I can't believe it. I can't believe you're still mad about that. Was I not nice about it when I said it? Or did I get?
No, you were not nice.
I wasn't?
No.
Oh, you know what? I forgot. I was in producer mode.
That's your excuse?
I wasn't disrespectful, right?
You look like you were going to the gym, you said. I think that was a
I
little
didn't say it in a nice way, though.
No,
It wasn't like,
no,
you look like you were
No.
going, honey. do you
No.
think You didn't even let me get
No.
it out. Why come you didn't let me get it out?
because it's no.
You know
Get
what?
Very judgy about.
You know
Are
what?
you wearing what? Are you? That doesn't go. Are you wearing that? You going to work like that? Sometimes I have to sneak out of the house
You know what? You're great.
before you see me.
You're great.
But sometimes I like to try things out.
No, you
It
do.
may not work.
Look, don't try to act like. Don't try
I
to
might
act
have
like.
different patterns on,
Hold
but
on a
I like to
second.
try it sometimes.
Look, hold on a second. Don't try to act like I'm the full stylist. Even though I did style you today, but I'm not always the stylist. You put together great outfits all the time. What are you talking about? There's only sometimes when if you get tired or whatever that you'll wear like polka dots and stripes. Then I got to step in.
You're such a jerk. You didn't have to tell them that.
That's okay.
You're such a jerk.
Sometimes it
You're trying to make
happens. That's why you're trying to sneak out the house.
By telling them what I do sometimes.
And then your sneakers are dirty and stuff. I'm like, what the heck is going on? I'm like, you're from the South Bronx in New York. Like,
You are so out of line right now.
why am I out of line?
They're not dirty.
We're kicking off season 2. Are you serious? I told you we stepping up.
This is stepping up.
I
You talking
told you.
shit about me
Look.
to everybody? That's
mean-
the stepping up. That's season 2.
Well, look,
That's season 2, y'all. He gonna talk shit the whole time.
Look, I did it in the season 1. It's just a little more in season 2. That's all. It's a balance. That's a balance. That's
I
all.
don't
So
know, you
sometimes
probably-
I got to step in like that. But I look out for you, and you know I look out for you.
Yes, you look
Right?
out for me.
I look out for you. Like,
You-
if things are out of place, I'm going to tell you. Right? Let's keep it 100. Let's keep it 100. Now, here's how I show up in a different way for her. If her nipples
Are
are
you
off to the
talking
right,
to them or
if-
me?
I'm talking to you. I'm
You
not
said
talking to
you
nobody
said
else.
her. You talking to them?
Her. No, but the
Me.
listeners, her,
You.
right. Stay with the podcast. I know who I'm talking to. So, if Roxann's nipple is off to the right, you know I'm going to say something because that's terrible. And we've been out in the street and we've seen someone's nipple that's off to the left like this, and it's really not appropriate. I can't let you walk out the house like that. That's how I show up for you. I'm like, look, boo,
He will
Boo.
send me a text at work and ask me if I checked them.
Yes.
No.
That's correct. You know why? Because we've been in situations we've seen some horrifying situations.
We have.
So I just say, hey, babe, I just want to make sure
That's
you're
the
good.
PSA.
Yes, I'll do a PSA.
Season 2 PSA.
No question.
Check them.
Look, that's how we show up, right? You don't let me go out the house looking all kind of crazy ways. That's how we show up for each other.
All
Right?
right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, we go shopping for each other, with each other and stuff like that. You got that really nice lipstick that we went and, you picked out and stuff, which was really nice. You know what I mean? I'm not one of them dudes that like will not go shopping with you.
You talked about my lipstick, and I'm laughing about what happened this morning.
But you know, I mean, that's another way I think my mother taught me. You know, like
Yeah,
how,
I mean, she really taught you well. I mean, I legit have to sneak out the house. She taught you well to be like, what are you doing? What's that? You should do this. Fix your hair, this, that, that.
no, that sounds like I'm a bit much. I think we need to pull that back because it's only occasionally. Don't act like you have to like like I'm the fashion police in the house. No, that's not the case. Sometimes, but not all the time.
Okay.
So so let's get back to this. Let's get back to showing up. Um, do you feel like is it easier to show up now that you're, or are you showing up in a different way now that you're doing EMDR therapy? Let me ask that question. And
What?
no, go ahead.
You said I am, that you noticed something different about me. I feel a lot uh, free, lighter to be present in my life with you. It's a really different experience than past therapy, that regular talk therapy. So, yeah, I, I didn't notice it, but, there's been some really grounding things that my therapist has done with me. And so one of them, I was talking about it last week, is how I'm always walking. I can literally feel myself holding her hand, and it's the 10-year-old me, and she's walking with me. And what I learned about her in therapy is that I'm in a position where I can actually make sure she's protected.
Mm,
And that has been incredible for me,
yeah.
is to realize that I can protect her now. And she doesn't have to hurt, and she doesn't have to, run around and do crazy shit and make bad decisions for me because
Right.
I'm not letting her, because I'm actually caring for her.
Right.
And so I literally can feel that I'm walking with her.
Mm,
But in addition to her, it's my ancestors who are constantly walking behind me.
mm,
And so when you don't feel alone and abandoned and hurt,
right.
you can show up more for other people that you love or that you're with.
Right.
But what's been more grounding for me is that I can actually show up for me
That's right.
and be as authentic as ever, and not just do what I learned, which is to always fight. I don't have to fight.
Mm,
I can just simply say what I need to say and keep it moving
right.
and feel okay
Right.
about it. And so I've been able to do that, and that has provided me a level of freedom that I think I have never experienced in my entire life in all the therapy I've ever done.
Right. Right. No, thank you for that. That's beautiful the way you said it. That's one of them Roxann brilliant moments. I feel like some way like we could kind of like Fat Joe does his Jopra moment. I think we have to figure out how to do like a brilliant Roxann moment. You know what I'm saying? So, but let's get into some questions. Let's see what we got. First of all, this is not a question, but wanted to say happy birthday to you, both of you. You're doing amazing things. Wishing you many blessings. Thank you so much. Here's a question. My partner makes a huge deal of things like my birthday and holidays, which is a trigger for me personally and makes me extremely uncomfortable. How can I communicate this to them without hurting their feelings?
Oh, I'm answering that?
No, I didn't say that. I just
Oh.
looked at you. I just normally look at you because
Oh.
there's nobody else here for me to talk to but you.
Oh. Do you have an answer?
Yeah.
Go ahead, you can start
I think,
if you're ready.
first of all, actually having the conversation like we're having, right? And saying, hey, like I understand this is or actually asking the question, why are you into birthdays and holidays and celebrating? Why?
What
And
is that about for you?
What is that about
like
for
being
you?
curious about
Correct.
what it means for the other person.
Right, right. And I think that's why you start the conversation, with being curious and finding out, right? Because asking a question, right, is almost asking permission in a lot of ways. That's how I think about it. You know what I'm saying? So once you ask that question, then hopefully the conversation will start. You know what I mean? And then that is if the person's in a place that they've dealt with what is causing them to be into celebrating and stuff like that. So that could be a little bit difficult, but that's how I would start that conversation and say, hey, you know, what's this for you? And then also share why it's a trigger for you, right? And see where you can try to meet in the middle around it.
Compromise.
Exactly, and compromise.
Yeah.
Yeah, but sometimes it is difficult just to start the conversation or think about it, right? But it really is.
It's not as difficult if you don't do it in the moment when it's happening. Right, that's
go.
what we like to do. It's
Right.
like the celebration's happening,
Right.
and then you want to be like, I told you I don't like this, like,
Right.
you know, right? You do right. That's a real enactment. That's exactly what happens. But if you don't do it in that moment,
Right.
and you take a pause, and you find another moment when you feel more calmer about it,
Right.
then you can really be in the conversation and be curious. And not be sort of like, not have all the emotion behind it pushing.
Right.
And the other person won't feel attacked, let's say. Right?
Yeah.
And then you can just say, I don't understand it. Right?
Right.
We did this when we were
Yeah.
in California.
Right.
We went to Disneyland. I was like, I've never been to this. This is crazy. This is a cult. Why are these people smiling? Why is everybody happy?
Everybody
this is
was
making
so
me,
happy.
Yeah, it was making me like mad, uncomfortable. And I started to get judgmental about it. And so someone else was like, yeah, this is what we do. I went for my 50th birthday and I was like, 50th birthday? I like was so judgmental. And then I said, pause. I said, what is that about for you? Why is that so important for you to do? And they had a great answer.
Right.
They said, I'm trying to relive the best parts of my childhood because there weren't many.
Right.
And when she said that, I said, oh, that makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that with me. And like, it put me in my place. And so I think when you can be in a calm place and just be curious and want to be engaged in the conversation without the emotion, you might discover something that you wouldn't have known about your partner.
That's helpful. We have another comment. I think Roxann's hair looks fabulous tonight.
Thank
I
you.
agree. How do you ask your partner to show up for you when you're in time of need, but they also are? Does it come down to who's more need/trouble? So we're two Scorpios. So this happens a lot with us, to be perfectly honest with you. And it's hard to navigate. There's no question, especially if we're both activated at the same time. It's really difficult. And I think to be honest with you, I think it takes practice. It takes practice. Also to talk about what our triggers are and what happens to us that we know of when we're activated, and then having our partner tell us how we are when we're activated sometimes gives us signs.
That doesn't help.
Why not?
I don't want to know when I'm activated, you telling me how I am.
But that's just you, though.
I think that's them, too.
You do?
Yes. It's not the time. Find a different moment.
Okay. So, all right. So in other words, then, and that happens. So the other thing is like, I don't say anything about it.
And then I'm mad. That's right.
See? So, but here's the thing. But no. But sometimes, but listen, hear it out. But if I understand what it is and I don't say anything about it, then I'll make the decision to talk to you about it in general, that we're both going through something and that we both need each other at the same time. Or, right, could it be like, well, I'm kind of needy right now, right? I've said that before. You've said that to me too. And we had to give each other grace in that moment.
But those are a lot of different moments. And I think the one thing that helped us understand it, and this is what I will offer to that person asking that question, is we both made a lot of mistakes.
Right.
And we did it wrong.
Right.
And I think that actually helps us learn.
Right.
Because it forces you, when you feel bad about how you behaved with your partner, it forces you to sort of say, wait a minute, is that what I really wanted? Is that what I really wanted to say? And we made a lot of mistakes. I mean, I'm talking about, remember that fight we had in the car where I was screaming at the top of my lungs?
Yes.
And we were in the dark and we were lost. And we had a map.
Yes.
No GPS.
Nope.
And it was scary, but I was so frustrated.
Right.
And after that happened, I was like, I never want to behave that way again because we didn't even know we were safe.
Right.
And I'm over here yelling at the top of my lungs.
Right.
Like, that was stupid.
No, I wouldn't say that it was stupid. You didn't feel safe, and you didn't know what was going to happen at that point, right? And so you didn't feel safe, and the fact that I was with you, yes, was helpful, but at that moment, you were the hurt little girl at that time. So don't say that you were stupid. I don't think that's
No, I didn't say I was stupid.
That's what I thought I heard you say.
No, I said what I did was stupid.
Okay, good. I want to make sure that we're clear about that. But the mistakes are, that's the one thing about our relationship is that our trauma kids, as you said before, our trauma kids grew up together, but we learned a lot together and made mistakes together and learned from and a lot of that and learned. And so some of it is learning each other and how to deal with those situation, and then the debrief, because we debrief everything. You know what I'm saying? We'll go home and debrief this, and we'll talk about it in general, and this will lead to another conversation with what we're talking about.
And sometimes we just stop, and we take space.
Right.
I just leave the house.
Right.
I'm like, I can't really deal with you. I'm overly activated. I can't even be in the conversation, and then I will leave. And sometimes I'll go to another room and I say, don't come to the room. I'm going to watch TV and settle myself down, stay where you are.
Yeah.
And that sometimes will help us get to the place where, we can figure out, all right, how are we going to move forward when we're both feeling that our needs need to be addressed.
Right. Right. No, good. Let me get to these last couple because we're running out of time. I'm going to try to get to the rest of these. Keith, you mentioned the passing of very close family members and Roxann being a very special part of your family. Roxann, does that feel like a lot of responsibility?
That's a really good question. Yes, it is a lot of responsibility. And sometimes I'm not sure how to navigate it because I have not experienced as much death in my family as Keith has. And so it's new to me, but I feel like Keith has really done a great job showing up for me, and I can't envision myself not showing up for him and sort of stepping into that and being supportive.
Yeah, thank you for that, and thank you for showing up for me. I think because of the work that I've done, I was putting a lot of pressure on her because of some of the insecurities and some of the work that I needed to do. And so I feel a little more grounded in it that I don't put the pressure on her. I don't feel like I put the pressure on you anymore in that way.
That is true.
You know what I'm saying? So I think
heavy.
it was heavy.
Yeah.
It was heavy, but it wasn't until I did more of my work, which I'm responsible for my mental health and everything else. For me, so then I can show up and be better for us.
Yeah, but we actually had that conversation, and
No
I
question.
talked about
Yeah.
it's feeling heavy on me.
Right.
And I don't want it to feel heavy, but I want to continue to support you. But
Yeah.
I need you to,
Right.
sort of get active about how you
Right.
take care of yourself.
Yeah, and that's a hard conversation, but that was a good conversation. I appreciated that one. What are some strategies you both have found most helpful for talking through, talking things surrounding trauma, triggers, and there's a heightened emotion awareness? Tactics and strategies when things are happening, when you're having conversations around. I got some.
You do?
Yeah.
Go. You don't have to wait for me.
I think one thing is, one is being responsible for yourself in situations, right? And that means trying to be aware of how you're getting escalated, right? But this all takes practice. This all takes discussion. This all takes trial and error. There's not one magic way to make it happen. It's literally working through every moment that you can, and then trying to use some of what you've learned, because it may all change in the moment, right? So I think it's practice. I think it's real conversations and debriefing sometimes, and understanding that your traumas and triggers are in the way of the relationship, and it's not the two people. It's the injury a lot of times that gets in the way of relationships. It's not the love. It's sometimes our issues that get in the way, right? And we've done a lot of work and continue to do it, because don't sleep, we still working. Even though we're doing this podcast and whatever, we're still working at this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we understand that we don't want the trauma and the injuries to get in the way that they used to of our marriage and end our relationship.
Well, we don't want to reenact them.
There you go.
I think it's like you learn something, you experience something, or you sort of see how conflict gets resolved, and then it may not be the healthiest way.
Right.
We just reenact it.
Right.
Right, and we just keep going, and sometimes we don't notice. But I really think that is a question. I think that getting therapy for that one is actually really more important, because you need somebody outside of you to really be able to process what's happening for you. And so, I also think about it as a therapist myself. It's like people ask me, how can you sit all day and listen to people's problems all day?
Right.
And how do you keep coming back each day and keep doing this over and over? And, we get trained as social workers how to take care of ourselves in that, in order for us to be present for a client. And so I think it's a similar idea, figuring out how you take care of yourself. And like I talk to students, I talk to adults every day, and I have the same spiel about sleep. And people look at me like I don't know what I'm talking about. They're like, I'm coming here talking to you that I'm depressed and I'm this, and you telling me that I need a sleep routine? I'm like, yeah. Because so it's like a plate of all kinds of stuff. But if sleep is a problem in all of that, once you start your sleep routine, what you're doing is you're removing something off your plate.
That's right.
When you start to remove something off your plate, that brings clarity. Then you're actually able to see what's happening and begin to figure out how you want to deal with it and what you're going to do next.
Right.
But what happens to us is we got so much stuff on our plate. We can't see. We have no idea what's happening.
Right.
And when we're in that crisis mode, we check out.
Right.
So that's why I think therapy for that particular question is actually really helpful. And I'm not talking about long-term therapy, but like 5 or 6 sessions to really explore with someone else what's happening and what's going on, to bring that awareness to you.
Right. I think the self-work with that is important too.
Well, we're always questioning our worth.
Right.
We don't talk about it, but we're
Right.
always questioning.
Right.
And like we've talked about recently, people are always asking you questions, different questions, and the only question that they're really asking you is, do you belong?
Right.
And we hear it.
Yeah.
And that can be, that's an injury.
Right. Right. And I mean, that was helpful. I mean, I think that was helpful for me to do my own work. So then when it's time for us to do work together, I could show up in a different way. Right? Because sometimes that happens. You know, couples will go to therapy and stuff, but they haven't done their own work, and so it's difficult for them to get somewhere with it because they haven't done their own individual work. So
Well, they're trying to get the therapist to take a side.
correct. Right.
Or
Right.
prove that they're right.
Right.
That's
Right.
just human behavior.
No question. Let me get to this question here. And how do you deal with both partners have cheated and want to reconcile, but are constantly triggered?
That is deep.
Whoa.
That's deep.
Acting out. That's both. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah.
kind of how I. That's kind of how I took that. Boundaries is always really tough for us as survivors, and
What
folks
is?
with boundaries.
Oh, boundaries.
Boundaries are really difficult, and sometimes we can bond over our trauma, right? And people have talked about that trauma relationships and things like that. And I think that, that was kind of one thing that was, in the beginning of our relationship, that we bonded in some ways, but we bonded in a lot of other ways. But I think that, do you disagree with that?
This language keeps coming up about trauma bonding, and I think that I think different people are defining it differently.
Okay.
We did not bond over our trauma. What we did was we talked about what happened to us, what happened to us in relationships, and then we got very clear about, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, I want more of this, I want more of this, I want more of
Right.
this. Are you in?
Right. That's true. You're right. You're absolutely right. That's different.
That's not
That's
trauma
right.
bonding.
That's right. That's the blue light
That's
special.
effective. Yeah, that's
Blue light
effective
special talks.
communication.
Right. No,
and
that's
being
true.
able to articulate what is okay for you.
Correct.
And when I think about two people both cheating,
Right.
then the first thing that popped up to my mind was, these are two people that have a hard time being vulnerable.
Right.
You have to be able to be vulnerable to be in a relationship. It's like being naked. You have to be able to do that, right? And if you can't be naked and look at yourself in the mirror, then how are you going to do that with a whole nother person?
Right.
So that's about vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's going to be important to explore and interrogate what's happening
Right.
that you're unable to be vulnerable. Because it's only when you're vulnerable or you have that capacity
Right.
can you really feel and enjoy the connection to another person.
Right.
Without vulnerability, I don't think you're going to get very far.
Right. Right. But but it's hard to have, but a lot of times I think, it's hard to have that real conversation too, about if there's a connection, if there's not a connection, if there's something, physical with us or during sex or anything else that, one person doesn't feel fulfilled and all the rest of that stuff. That stuff is hard. And
It is. No, it
can be, yes.
It's not necessarily.
Yeah, but a lot of times it's hard for people to really talk about it, right? But it also goes back to what we've been talking about, is how you learn to show up. How did you learn to show up?
Where did you learn?
And where did you learn to show up?
That
Yes.
question there
Right.
is about where did you learn that was okay,
Right.
and what about it is happening for you,
Right.
because those are learned behaviors.
Yeah. Right. But that's the conversation. The conversation is, well, what was going on that you felt like you needed to do blah blah blah. Right? Can you actually have that real conversation, right? And that goes, we have to end in a second, but and that's an episode that we're going to talk about, or we're going to talk about the acting out, right?
Yeah,
because we
that's
know
complete acting out.
because that's acting out, right?
Yeah.
After the injury caused us to act out in different ways, right? And we both know, that we've acted out in different ways.
Oh, definitely.
But the great thing about this relationship is that we were always friends first. And so we could have these real conversations, right? And I could understand that there was stuff that was acting out, that we were acting out. But I understood it from talking to you about it, that I understood where some acting out was happening on my end as well. Whether it was, and it didn't have to be anything really grand or whatever else, but like, that's a lot to deal with. And I was having a conversation with a friend about acting out and really admitting and talking to yourself about it and forgiving yourself and understanding that it's in result of the injury that you're acting out, and talking about it, one with EW in therapy and stuff like that, but actually trying to be real with myself about it and forgive myself for some of it, but understanding how important boundaries are. For me, is a big deal for me anyway.
Well, and I will say that acting out is the little girl, the little Roxy, or the little Keith.
Yep.
When you resort to acting out, that's when you know that the little you is out running around.
No question.
Making decisions and breaking shit.
Right. No question. No question. Most definitely. And a lot of times we can actually, if we look at our partners at certain situations, we can actually see that. We can see that. We can see the face. We can see the body language and stuff like that. Because I know for me, one reason why I started all this work and stuff like that is because my hurt little boy was running crazy, right? And was running things at a certain point, and I needed to do my work to take care of him.
He got held accountable.
That too. That too.
Let's not skip over that part.
That too.
Just like my little Roxy got held accountable.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. He got held accountable. And so it was important, to take care of him and to keep him safe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the man could do what he needed to do.
No. But accountability and structure helps a lot. And sometimes we don't do that.
Right. Right. And
self-accountability.
self-accountability.
Option.
Right. Self-accountability, self-forgiveness, self-reflection, is important. But, we got to wrap this up. You've been listening to Living a Triggered Life podcast with Keith Mascoll.
Roxann Mascoll.
Live from the Museum of Science. Thank you to our tech family. Thank you so much to the Museum of Science. Thank you so much to our birthday brother, James Monroe.
Birthday brother.
That's our birthday brother right there. This has been great, Rox. I'm so excited. I can't wait to reveal everything in season 2. You know what I mean? But remember, you're no longer surviving, you're thriving, and you've earned that.